Introduction: the occult script, a colossal and monstrous conspiracy, but let the spirit of all lies with works of dazzling magic blind you. Then absolutely mine, all have and bind you. The Devil, Faust, play by Goethe, 1749-1832, they're everywhere. Cleverly disguised. On TV, embedded in magazines, and lurking in powerful advertising. Sometimes they're subtle or subliminal, other times direct, provocative, and mind-bending in effect. Strange symbols, signs, charms, talismans, and handshakes that program and control our minds. Henry Macau, astute inventor and essayist, says that they are key components of the satanic conspiracy that now confronts us with maximum force and evil. This satanic conspiracy, Macau warns, succeeds only because people cannot believe something so colossal and monstrous actually exists. Won the world as a contest for our souls. The people who are pushing products, violence, and sex are not operating on a random, whatever sells, basis. They have Masonic symbols in their logos. The top players are following an occult script designed to enslave us body and soul. They are building a gigantic prison based on their own mental hell. This is the New World Order. We are the inmates. Point 2. It is, in fact, satanic indoctrination, Macau emphasizes, and we are all locked into the prison classroom as this mental poison from hell is piped into us 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. A psychological matrix. In this eye-opening book, Codex Magica, you will discover just how accurate and true are the warnings of Mr. Macau and just a few others. Most people, of course, are so far gone, their minds so awash with occultism acquired from decades of propaganda encountered on every side, they cannot any longer decipher reality. The majority are caught in some form of psychological matrix. Tragically, hundreds of millions of people have, in a manner of speaking, become Manchurian candidates. They eat, breathe, move, and sleep as if in a trance. Immobile, unable to react, afflicted with amnesia, they are like Pontius Pilate who, when confronted with Jesus Christ standing right in front of him, the very essence of unmovable truth, asked Christ the question, "What is truth?" Well, here, in Codex Magica, in over 600 incredible pages, is truth. Here you will see pictures of many of the foremost movers and shakers of human history, ancient and modern, as they secretly communicate through sign and symbol. Naturally, the elite do not relish being exposed in their dirty works and evil doing. They and their dumbed-down minions, I am referring to the overwhelming, see no evil, hear no evil, masses of people in society can be expected to quickly jump to the attack and attempt to deny it all. Through sleight of hand, they will do their utmost to divert your attention. The pictures are taken out of context, they will protest. The images are not what they seem. Here, listen to us, they will implore, it's not what it looks like. Let us explain it all to you. Don't be hasty now in your judgment, they'll cry. You and I know that conspiracies don't really exist. Everything is okay, nothing is amiss. It is all just an accident, nothing to fret about. Are you going to believe your lying eyes? Their weak and idiotic protestations remind us of the famous TV comedian, Groucho Marx. Groucho enjoyed retelling the story of the time a startled wife came home to find her adulterous husband in bed with another woman. "It's not what you think," he assured her. "Are you going to believe what I tell you, or are you going to believe your lying eyes?" Thank God we no longer have to believe what they, the Illuminati, and their lying accomplices in the media and government tell us. We can lay their propaganda aside and view the actual evidence through the prism of truth with our own eyes. This book is the result of over 2 decades of research. I believe it speaks for itself. The pictures, illustrations, and proofs contained in these pages do, in my opinion, document a monstrous conspiracy that surrounds and envelops us. It may well be that some, a few, of the photographs, are not what they appear to be. We all know that it is possible, for example, that photographers took shots of certain people as their hands, fingers, arms, and bodies were inadvertently in odd positions. A picture may be worth 1,000 words, as the old Chinese proverb says, but even pictures can be deceiving. And so, I leave it all up to you to decide, dear reader. Do these proofs provide evidence of these people's involvement in nefarious, Masonic, occultic, or magical activity or not? You be the judge. To help you make a decision, often included in the captions that accompany the photos and illustrations is commentary that helps one to better analyze the situation or scene that is pictured. When possible, I present evidence and information outlining the individual's membership in the Masonic Lodge, the Rosicrucian Order, or other globalist or occultic groups, secret societies, and organizations. This is done as an aid to your independent decision-making. Sometimes, I admit, it is difficult from the picture alone to ascertain whether a person, or persons, are displaying a Masonic or other sign, or to tell for sure that an occultic pose are seen as being portrayed. Again, the author does his best to offer up evidence, such as pages, excerpts, and descriptions of such signs and poses from official textbooks, dictionaries, and encyclopedias of the Masonic order, or illustrations and examples by experts and authorities. In some instances, it is unclear what exactly is transpiring in a photo because the intent, or motive, of the individual subject cannot be discerned. We cannot read people's minds, and so we must judge based on the photographic evidence. For example, there is much confusion today over the hand sign of the devil called El Diablo, or Il Carnuto. Many confuse this sign of evil with the sign of the deaf for I love you, and with the sign given by many to indicate youthful rebellion, sex, and rock and roll. In the section of Codex Magica that pictures a number of people giving this problematic sign, I therefore explain the difference in types of hand signs and discuss the ongoing controversy in an attempt to clear up some of the confusion. Readers may just find the clarifying information presented here revealing, to say the least. All in all, you will view in Codex Magica over 1,000 photos and illustrations documenting Illuminists, Satanists, and other elitists practicing magic. Even if the skeptics and naysayers were able to explain away a few of these proofs, the remainder would be sufficient aplenty to prove the thesis of this book. That, indeed, a massive conspiratorial network of occult magicians exists today and has existed throughout human history. From the perspective of the occult researcher and investigator, the key to understanding the precarious world we live in is the recognition that a consistent pattern exists. A criminal is often convicted by an overwhelming preponderance of circumstantial evidence, even when no direct evidence, like a smoking gun, is produced. But in our case, in Codex Magica, we do produce a convincing array of direct evidence, along with many facts that connect the dots, to conclusively prove the continuing existence of an occult conspiracy. Over 600 pages of photographic evidence and materials cannot all be wrong. Exercising fairness and good judgment, I wish to emphasize that I accuse no one pictured herein of being a Satanist or occultist. Their being pictured here does not mean that individuals are necessarily members of the Order of the Illuminati or prove anything whatsoever about their social, political, religious ideology or other beliefs. Nor am I implying, suggesting, or stating that the men and women pictured are knowingly involved in any type of plot, satanic or otherwise. My friends are fully aware that over the years, I have authored and produced numerous books, audio tapes, and videos on the subject of mysterious marks, symbols, signs, and logos, including such bestseller classics as Dark Secrets of the New Age, Mystery Mark of the New Age, and Circle of Intrigue. As such, the reader should realize that the information in my books and other works is based solely on my own opinion. True, I do my level best to judge things accurately and to marshal relevant facts and data that might bear, but ultimately, the reader or viewer must decide if he or she concurs with the author's judgments and opinions. As the cliché of a well-known TV news network so often echoes, we report, you decide. Those who have read and evaluated my past works know that I am always concerned and desirous of presenting accurate information. I invite anyone who believes the facts and analysis, or even the opinions expressed herein are incorrect or incomplete to promptly inform me of such. I am more than willing to make corrections or retractions based on the best evidence. Deciphering a mountain of data. One of the problems inherent in an undertaking so vast as this book is that the subject matter is so broad and complex. There are literally thousands of secret signs, grips, and symbols to consider in evaluating photographic evidence. My opponents, the men of the secret societies and the Illuminists, would agree that this is the case. In the Royal Archmason, an official publication of Freemasonry, Dr. William L. Cummings commented on how many hundreds of rites, rituals, and degrees existed. Point 3 Obviously, in each of the hundreds of ceremonies a number of secret handshakes and signs are taught and practiced. Thus, Cummings remarks, Masons themselves are in a state of confusion, It generally comes as a surprise and sometimes as a shock when the Mason who has never given any attention to the subject learns at least 100 Masonic and quasi-Masonic rites and systems have existed and no less than 800 so-called Masonic degrees have been revised. Point 4 Royal Arch Mason editor Ray V. Denshaw Riley comments that a longtime Mason of reputation may be asked, how many of the hundreds of degrees have you received? Have you received the rite of Memphis of 90 degrees? Or the rectified rite? Or the Swedenborgian rite? 5. Moreover, Masons affiliated with the Grand Lodge of the Orient in Paris, the United Lodge in London, or the Grand Masonic Lodge of Israel, may well utilize signs and handshakes not used, seen, or understood in other orders. Then, of course, there is the Order of the Rosicrucians, the Order of the Trapezoid, the Priory of Sion, the Alta Vendita, the P2 Lodge, the Solar Order of the Temple, the modern-day Knights Templar, the Vatican's Knights of Malta and Knights of Columbus, the Order of the Odd Fellows, the Order of Ahepa, the Order of Skull and Bones, the Bohemian Club, the Pilgrims Society, and 1,000 or more other secret societies and orders, not to mention the many Jewish Kabbalistic groups, satanic churches, and witchcraft and Druid sects. Knowledge of secret signs opens doors. British Satanist Aleister Crowley, a man who fancied himself the wickedest man on the planet, was Grand Master of the Ordo Templi Orientis (OTO), and also founded the mysterious and Luciferian Order of Astrum Argentinium. He once ruefully and knowingly intimated that after he had independently learned and practiced how to do the secret handshakes of a number of other secret societies and orders throughout Europe, he traveled around from city to city and discovered that by knowing how to convey the appropriate handshake, he was invited into what is normally the guarded inner sanctum of almost all the groups. They were persuaded simply by his handshake that Crowley was eligible to attend their conclaves and be made privy to their most closely guarded secrets. The average Mason or member of other secret orders knows little of the signs and symbols of his own order, let alone that of others. In my work for this book, I have communicated with a number of ex-Masons, but few were able to identify any but the most rudimentary of signs and symbols. I did far better with Masonic encyclopedias and with modern and ancient magical texts and guides. I give credit to. In addition to the individuals listed in the acknowledgments of the title page, I would also like to acknowledge the assistance of a few very special friends was invaluable to me in preparing this book. I'd like, therefore, to give credit to Lawrence Patterson, publisher of Criminal Politics magazine and one of the world's leading experts on global finances and investments. Alex Jones, well-known radio personality and top-notch producer of many videos documenting the rise of the police state. Dr. Kathy Burns, author of the excellent Masonic and Occult Symbols Illustrated, as well as the Hidden Secrets of the Eastern Star. Dean Grace, author of A Little Guide to the All-Seeing Eye Symbol on Our Dollar Bill. Ralph Epperson, author of Masonry, Conspiracy Against Christianity, The Unseen Hand, and other fine books. Dr. Gail Riplinger, author of the best-selling classic, New Age Bible Versions. David Meyer, occult researcher and publisher of Last Trumpet newsletter. Michael Hoffman, 2, author of the groundbreaking book, Secret Societies and Psychological Warfare. Fritz Springmeier, author of Bloodlines of the Illuminati and other revealing works. Robert Galen Ross, author of Who's Who of the Elite and the Elite Don't Dare Let Us Tell the People. I also wish to acknowledge the late Jim Shaw and Jim Keith, Bill Schnobelen, Tom McKenney, Ed Decker, James Spencer, David Bay, Drive Dennis Cuddy, Reginald Haupt Jr., Dr. O.J. Graham, Jeff Rentz, Day Griffin, Gary Blevins, Dr. Stanley Monteith, Jack Chick, Ted Pike, Don de Grande Prix, Jack Roper, and Yuri Lina, all of whose authoritative research and writings provided me with valuable information as well as incalculable inspiration. Hands-on membership not required. Illuminati paid provocateurs and other would-be critics might suggest that because you and I are not Masons or Illuminists, my research in Codex Magica or your own independent research has no authority. In answer, I am happy to respond by noting that the best of homicide detectives have never been murdered nor participated in such. Few lifeguards have had an incident in which they were drowning and required assistance. Most lawyers have never been sued. Most psychiatrists have never been admitted as a patient to a mental institution. Most neurosurgeons have never had brain surgery. Most sports writers have never played pro football or pro baseball, yet they report and comment on the same. Most prison wardens have never themselves been locked up as convicts, and no historians have lived in the past centuries of history about which they amass information and facts and comment about. It doesn't take a monster to know that human monsters exist or a serial killer to know that murdering innocent people involves savage and evil acts. And there is abundant evidence that exists about the Illuminati and secret societies so that we do not have to join and participate in these repugnant groups to know what they are all about. Codex Magica proves that. A challenge to critics: I hereby challenge any and all Masons and other members of secret societies to meet me on neutral ground with neutral observers in a contest, a duel of wits, if you will, to see who knows more about the subject matter presented in this book. Until such time as the critic accepts my challenge and is willing to publicly display that he knows as much or more about secret handshakes and grips, symbols, marks, logos and other occultic matters, I suggest that the critic shrink back to the shadowy confines of his Masonic temple, synagogue, or shrine and refrain from empty, futile criticism. As for those skeptics and naysayers who get their kicks by pretending to know, just know that these things cannot be true, that conspiracies just do not exist, and who maintain that anyone who even dares to mention the existence of any group called the Illuminati just has to be wrong. May I humbly recommend that they earnestly burn the midnight oil, carefully read this book, and examine the evidence in a fair-minded and objective manner. Many a friend has written telling the author that he likewise was once a doubter and skeptic, until, that is, he had heard and considered all the evidence. In this regard, the Holy Scriptures have a tremendous bit of advice worthy of consideration. He that answereth a matter before he heareth it, it is folly and shame unto him. Proverbs 18:13.